Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movie's entitled Mine. Let's get straight into the storyline. The story begins with a stoic U.S. Marine named Mike saying goodbye to a young woman at the airport before boarding a helicopter for his next mission. In the subsequent scene, Mike and his spotter, Tommy, are surveying a desert landscape on a cliff, awaiting their target's arrival.
Target's 2 o'clock.
Tommy is talkative, while Mike is more serious. As they observe, they notice groups of individuals on foot and armed vehicles coming from opposite directions. Mike's mission is to eliminate a 65-year-old terrorist named Saeed Asif. As Tommy and the voiceover on the radio try to persuade Mike to carry out the mission, Mike realizes that the gathering below is not a typical military engagement, but a wedding ceremony.
It's a wedding.
He understands that the target, Asif, might be the groom's father. The presence of the newlyweds complicates the situation, blocking Mike's clear line of sight to the target. Despite orders to eliminate the groom to reach Asif, Mike struggles with his conscience, unable to justify killing an innocent person. The situation weighs heavily on him, creating internal conflict between following orders and doing what he believes is right. As Mike processes the events, he remains focused on his duty but is also aware that his decision could seriously affect his career. To avoid carrying out the order, Mike lies to his command center, saying he lost sight of the target in the chaos. Soon after, Mike and Tommy are spotted by armed guards protecting the wedding, who start shooting at them. Chaos erupts, and their target, Asif, quickly escapes. Mike and Tommy have to flee from the pursuing armed men. During their escape, they accidentally damage their GPS device, making it harder for them to navigate. They find shelter behind a nearby rock formation, but the armed men are getting closer. Mike, thinking quickly, comes up with a clever plan to create a diversion. He uses this tactic to mislead their pursuers and buy them some extra time. Mike and Tommy know they must stay alert and work together to survive and complete their mission despite the odds stacked against them. After escaping from the armed men, Mike and Tommy urgently request evacuation. However, they are told to walk across the desert to a village about 5 hours away, where they can be picked up. Setting off on foot, they face harsh conditions, including sandstorms and scorching heat.
What do you guys talk about anyway?
Tommy talks a lot as they trek through the desert, sharing stories about his son back home. His constant chatter is sometimes entertaining, but can also be a bit annoying to Mike. Mike stays quiet and seems deep in thought, clearly troubled by something. Noticing this, Tommy encourages Mike to open up about what's bothering him. Mike notices a warning sign blowing under their feet, signaling the presence of landmines. He takes it seriously, knowing how many are buried in the area. Tommy brushes it off, thinking it's just a trick by the Berbers to scare off enemies. Despite Tommy's dismissal, Mike stays cautious and worried about the danger.
Well, I like it when you get optimistic, Mike. Okay.
Tommy teases Mike for being too careful while he moves backward without concern.
Hey.
Suddenly, a clicking sound fills the air, followed by a loud explosion, as Tommy accidentally triggers a landmine. Shocked, Mike moves closer to Tommy, only to hear another click beneath his foot. The dust settles, revealing Tommy alive but badly hurt, with his lower legs blown off. Tommy cries out in pain as Mike, also trapped by the landmine, struggles to comfort him. Desperate to help, Mike mentions Tommy's son to give him strength and gives him morphine for the pain.
You gotta call Jake, man!
Jake! Look, I haven't got any left!
There you go, it's right by your side. Now can you reach your...
Despite Tommy's efforts to reach the radio, he's overwhelmed by agony. Seeing his friends suffer, Mike offers to risk his own safety to free Tommy from the landmine, but Tommy refuses, fearing it could be dangerous. In a heartbreaking decision, Tommy sacrifices himself to save Mike's life. Alone in the desert, Mike cries out in despair, struggling to cope with his friend's sacrifice and his own loneliness. Feeling tired from standing, Mike kneels down, realizing he needs to reach the radio next to Tommy, who's lying a few yards away. He plans to pull the radio closer using his shoelace and an axe. But when he checks the radio, he finds its battery dead, and the spare is on Tommy's body. Despite feeling discouraged, Mike refuses to give up. He comes up with a clever idea to make a solar-powered charging system for the radio. After getting the radio working again, Mike urgently calls for help, but he's told that rescue helicopters can't fly because of sandstorms. The only option is a rescue convoy, which won't arrive for 52 hours. Mike feels frustrated but doesn't give up hope. His superiors suggest digging a ditch and taking shelter inside as a last resort. It's a tough decision, as it might mean losing limbs, but it could save his life. Determined to survive, Mike sets a countdown on his watch and prepares for the long wait ahead. A strong sandstorm hits Mike hard, but he stays put, enduring it without moving. When it finally ends, he sees that the storm has brought Tommy's body closer to him, along with the spare battery, but the radio has been carried away by the sand. Mike's water supply runs low as time passes, and he starts feeling increasingly desperate. Sometimes, he even thinks about ending his own life because the situation feels too overwhelming. Observing a Berber approaching him in a zigzag pattern, Mike attempts to caution him about the landmine.
Boom!
But the Berber mimics his movements, appearing to mock him. Despite Mike's efforts to convey his dire situation, the man persists, urging Mike to take action. Seizing Mike's water flask, the Berber vanishes into the desert. Completely dehydrated and desperate, Mike is about to drink his own urine when he notices a little Berber girl approaching, with his water flask. She hands it to Mike, and to his immense relief, it is full of water. He drinks deeply, quenching his thirst. Though the girl remains silent, she uses her toy soldiers to convey to Mike that he must step off the mine and move on. Mike explains that he cannot move and asks the girl to fetch his radio, but she doesn't understand. Growing desperate, Mike raises his voice, inadvertently scaring the girl away. As night falls and the temperature drops, Mike lights a fire to keep warm. He starts hearing the sounds of wild animals nearby. To distract himself, he takes out his phone and looks at pictures of his girlfriend. He finds a video message from her, in which Jenny tells Mike that she is waiting for him and that he must win the war and return to her as soon as possible. Mike becomes emotional, fearing he might never see her again. Exhausted by everything that has happened, he begins to drift off to sleep, but wakes with a start to find the fire has died out, and wild animals surrounding him. He tries to scare them off with his gun, but fails, regretting not learning more survival skills from shows like Man vs. Wild. Mike watches helplessly as the animals drag Tommy's body away. When one animal starts approaching him, Mike uses his torchlight to aim and shoots it. The animal lands on a landmine, causing an explosion that scares the other animals away. In the morning, the same Berber man visits Mike again. He remarks on Mike's incredible luck in surviving after stepping on a landmine and spending a night in the desert with wild animals. Once more, he suggests that Mike should step forward, but Mike refuses. He accuses the Berber of knowing the mine locations since he always walks in a pattern. The Berber man responds that he doesn't know where the landlines are. He walks in a zigzag pattern because it's safer than walking straight. Mike asks him to fetch his radio again. This time, the Berber man agrees and returns the radio to Mike before leaving. Mike checks his watch and sees that there are still 24 hours left before help arrives. He starts to hallucinate, seeing Tommy waking up from the dead. The imaginary Tommy encourages Mike, telling him that he will survive.
Me.
As the sun sets again, Mike reflects on all the mistakes he has made in his life, especially regretting leaving his girlfriend, Jenny, to go on this mission. Once again, he finds himself surrounded by wild animals. This time, even the mine explosions do not scare them away. Mike starts shooting aimlessly at the animals in the dark, lost in his thoughts, as he fights them off. As the sun rises, Mike returns to reality, surrounded by the deadly wild animals he managed to kill. Despite being vastly outnumbered, he has survived alone in the desert. Mike receives a communication from his senior officer, who informs him that the rescue team is running late and asks if he can hold on for another 17 hours. Already far past his breaking point, Mike replies that he cannot endure any longer. The major then tells him that someone wants to talk to him, and Mike hears Ginny's voice. Frantically, he apologizes to her for leaving, messing everything up and destroying everything he touches. Mike begins to hallucinate, seeing Ginny sitting on a couch in front of him in the desert. He tries to reach her, but starts losing strength and begins to collapse. Suddenly, the Berber man appears out of nowhere and catches him. The man starts nursing Mike's wounds and shares his own story of stepping on a mine, which took his leg. He explains that losing his leg felt like losing everything, but meeting his wife and having a daughter washed away the pain. He tells Mike that we must keep moving forward no matter what happens. Mike remarks that the Berber man is lucky to have such a beautiful daughter, who brought him water and has her father's smile. The man reveals that he no longer has a daughter. She died in a mine explosion during one of their father-daughter excursions to dig out mines and replace them with tin cans. Mike listens, stunned. The Berber man says he is happy his daughter came to meet Mike, but insists that Mike needs to move on. Then he leaves. Mike sees the girl again, but she quickly fades away with the wind. He starts hallucinating once more, seeing visions of his abusive father beating his mother, his terminally ill mother, and the happy times he spent with Jenny. At that moment, he hears on the radio that the rescue team is nearby and needs him to signal his exact location. He reaches for his flare, but before he can use it, the terrorists start shooting at him from over the hill. The gunfire triggers a nearby mine explosion, sending the flare flying out of Mike's reach. Too weak to fire back, Mike remembers his girlfriend and uses the memory as motivation. He shoots at the ground, triggering mine explosions that create a cloud of sand and smoke, shielding him from the enemy. Seizing the opportunity, he grabs his sniper rifle and eliminates the terrorists. With the rescue team approaching and the flare still out of reach, Mike recalls the Berber man's words, "You have to keep moving on." Taking a leap of faith, he steps forward. Nothing happens. There is no explosion. He discovers that the mine he had stepped on was a tin can, likely placed there by the Berber's daughter when she was alive. The villager's words proved true throughout the ordeal. He had told Mike that he could move forward with his life and return to his girlfriend, reminding him that fear was the only thing stopping him. Relieved to be alive, despite the non-lethal gunshot wounds he sustained during the standoff, Mike bursts into tears, perhaps relieved that he will be saved, or maybe angry at himself for not realizing the truth of the situation sooner. Mike then shoots the flare and collapses on the ground. The rescue team finds him and brings him home. Ginny waits for him at the airport with tears of joy in her eyes. Before hugging her, Mike drops to one knee. He proposes to her, promising never to leave her alone again.